Hi, and welcome to another episode of On the Job with PORAC. I'm Brian Marvel, president of PORAC. With me is PORAC Vice President Damon Kurtz. Today, we are very honored to have a very special guest. He's an actor, author, producer, director, screenwriter, and singer. I want to welcome the Mr. William Shatner to our show via Zoom. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Very, very happy to be here.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you taking the time out of your extremely busy day to talk to us. Like we stated a little bit earlier, it's pretty lighthearted. Get to
well, I'm very, as I say, I'm very happy to be here. I think it's very important for people to know how valuable police work is and how valuable police officers are to our living, our culture, our cities, the country. Police officers are a bulwark, and it's very important for people to remember that.
And we appreciate that, and I think that dovetails perfectly into your TV show back in the '80s, T.J. Hooker. And how did that come about? Was that something that you got involved early on, or were you asked to?
Well, the way it works is some creative person goes to either a studio or a network, and they say, "I've got this brilliant idea. Let's do a police show." Oh my God, nobody's ever done a police show before. So they have some kind of angle on it. And the angle that was going to make a difference, we thought, excuse me, was that they'd get a policeman who was still, getting over reading the Miranda rights and old school and having to come into the new school of police work, where the community work is a very large part of what they do. So they contacted me. It seemed like a really good idea of a guy emerging out of what used to be to what is. And so every so often we'd carry that theme, but mostly it was a lot of running and jumping and getting the bad guy and knocking him down, putting the bracelets on him. But in the process, I spent 5 years. I went to the academy. I did the academy work. I was up at that screen where they present different situations, like domestic situations, and you're in front of a screen and you have to react like a scene in an actor's studio where a scene takes place in front of you and you have to react to that scene. Really good thinking in terms of practicing what domestic violence can be like. So I learned in a very minor way to be a policeman vaguely. But what began to happen is that the cops around protecting the show would emerge. We would get together and have conversations, started talking a lot. And when we started going downtown on a Friday night to shoot the night scenes, a lot of night scenes, we would travel during the day in Studio City and up in the valley on a police car and shoot the outdoor scenes and daylight scenes. But when it got really dramatic, especially every Friday night, we'd go downtown, right down to the rough spots in Los Angeles to film at night. And that's when it became really dramatic. And I thought, when I was thinking about doing this interview, I thought I would try and paint for you a frieze, a picture that I have that I carry in my mind all the time when I think or talk about police work. And that is, over the years, with crowds around downtown, something untoward would happen, occasional really bad thing, and the police would be there to break it up or stop it. So I was very much aware of an element of danger at midnight downtown Los Angeles. So one night, it was over, the filming was over, And I got into a limo. I don't know, Hollywood actor gets into a limo and leaves downtown Los Angeles. I got into the car and we started to drive, and I looked out the window and I saw this picture, a policeman in this attitude, like an attitude of action, with his hand right close to his pistol. And it was under a lamplight, so it was like out of a painting. And a bad guy, sort of in another phrase, like, I'm going to get you and I'm going to get you. And there was a moment of drama that I, as a pretend policeman in a limo, caught a glimpse of for a count of two and then went on. What happened before, what happened after, I have no idea. But the whole idea of police work, the danger of police work, what police work does, all was encapsulated in that one picture. I've never forgotten it. T.J. Hooker got really good with P-38. What's the name of the nightstick?
Oh, PR-24.
I said 38. That's the progression. The PR, is it PR-24? So PR-24. So we began to do phenomenal thing. It's like throwing it and tripping people up. But that little handle on the edge of the nightstick made all the difference in the world. So you could use it in a variety of ways. So they taught me to get a little handy with it, and it was great fun. But that picture of that policeman alone under a lamplight, his hand poised over his pistol to protect himself and everybody else against a guy who, God knows what he was threatening. I don't know. That story remains unwritten, but that picture remains in my mind as to what people should know about police work and the danger they're always in, and the mindset you have to have as a policeman. Every time I pass a police car, I try and give, a thumbs up. There, people love you. And they're, what are you doing? It's a bad time.
Well, this time, this day and age, I think it's important that our guys hear that and hear the positive words of reinforcement. And even that thumbs up, it means a lot to the guys out there.
I think so too. And there's I'm in the North Hollywood division, and every Christmas for the last many, many years, I've been where I live for a long, long time. Maybe I can't imagine anybody living in this area longer than where I'm living, because I'm of that age. But every Christmas I bring in bagels and pastrami and coleslaw and fish to the North Hollywood station, just as a Christmas gift. And I remember vaguely saying it from the Shatners, but I one day talked to I was doing something like this with policemen, and there was a police woman who got on the thing and said, she used to work at the North Hollywood station. And I said, well, did you ever eat any of the bagels I brought? And she said, was that you? So nobody knew that for all these years, that when the guys went in on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, or there was a little puddle of meat and fish and bagels for everybody to celebrate. No, it's really important, as you point out, Damon, that people who should let those policemen know that how difficult their work is and the cloud that they can get under very quickly.
I can tell you on behalf of those officers, and any officer in the state or the nation is extremely grateful for the generosity of people like you. I'm from San Diego, and we used to get gifts, food sent to our stations too. We were always appreciative of everybody who did that to us, because it showed it was a token of kindness, and it showed that we were somewhat appreciated for the work that we were doing.
But there's something else that because of my 5 years with the human beings, we forget, we think that policemen are Superman. You know, you're going to go into a dark building with a bad guy in there who's known to be a killer, and the guys go in, and you're a human being. My God, you're afraid. You know, it's dark. It's the essence of nightmare, and you're running towards the nightmare like firefighters and all the public service people. Sure, it's a good job and a thing, it's got the thing, but your training and your duty is to run towards, not run away. And you're a human being like the guy who's running away. I wish the hell I could run away, but you can't. And there's nothing between you and the bad guy but some training. And if you're wearing a vest, good. But, you know, when it happens suddenly, you're not wearing a vest. I mean, where I live, there was that big shooting some years ago with there was a name for it, the bank. Anyway, they were dressed in armor, and cops had their 38s, and these two guys had their automatic guns, and they're dressed in armor, and the 38 bullets would bounce off them, and there was some brave stuff that went down. A rookie saved an officer down, and I mean, it's a very dramatic story, but it contains in that story the courage of these officers who are just, we forget that they're just, you know, when they take off their badge, they're walking out, they got to go to the bathroom, you know, like we do. And it's all, you got to have that compassion. And so when you hear of a case where a guy shot, and then if you put yourself in that position, you think, well, geez, I don't know what I would have done. So it's important to remember that officers of the law are human beings doing a job for which they've been trained, but they're still human beings.
Yeah, we thank you for that. Just a little bit on your side. So you've been in Hollywood for 60 plus years, a very storied and long career. What are some of the things that you've seen over your time, good or bad, in a sense of where it was in the 50s to where it is now in 2020?
Well, you know, you hear all the time the stories of people who've been around a long time in Los Angeles, well, anywhere, I guess, but certainly in the Los Angeles area. God, I should have bought that building, or I could have got that corner there for nothing years and years ago. Now it's a bank or whatever it is. So there's the corner on Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard used to be a car wash and a gas station, and it was kind of home run. I mean, there were a couple of people who would do it, and then it was kind of run down. It was for sale. And so there are all these places that have grown up. When I first came here from New York, I'm from Montreal, Canada, and I went, I made my way through Toronto, which is Canada's, so sorry. It's Canada's New York, and then from Toronto and Stratford there, I came to New York City. And then, because everything was in New York City, and I worked a lot in New York City, and then everything moved to LA, and me too. So I moved to LA, and the first thing I saw in the hills of Santa Monica Hills, looking into the valley, were orange groves. And the Ventura Boulevard, the Ventura Freeway, stopped at the West Valley. It just stopped and became streets. And I, all my life, all my adult life, I've had Doberman pinschers. And though I didn't breed them, I sought them out, and I'd have 1, 2, 3 Doberman pinschers in my, when I had left home as a kid and got to be a young adult. I always had a dog or 2 dogs with me. And I had a really beautiful Doberman one time, and I went to the Westminster Dog Show, and he was almost, the judge looked around at when his class was on and went, yeah, looked at me and pointed at the next one. So I came in second. Coming in second is like, you know, there's no, one dog wins and everybody else loses. So I had loved that dog, and I knew the breeding of the dog, and there had been a magazine, a Time magazine cover of a Doberman, Storm, by Rancho Doby. Rancho Doby Storm on the cover of Time magazine, the great Doberman. And of course, loving Dobermans, that was like the god Doberman. So now I'm driving along the freeway that ends at the West Valley. Now it ends. And I think, well, now how do I, and over on the right-hand side, and their buildings are still there after all these years, I see Rancho Doby Storm. Rancho Doby. And I drive in, and the lady, I think her name was Elizabeth, was the head of Rancho Doby, which was the big Doberman kennel of all time. I had accidentally come to the heaven for Doberman picture lovers, where Rancho Doby Storm had been born and bred. And I got my Dobies from her as the years went by, from Elizabeth. I've forgotten her name. But it was like meant to be that I just arrived all those years ago in the valley, and all this newness was around me, and I happed upon this place that I had read about for so long and dreamt about. Fun, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Well, that so I was looking at your bio, and I noticed that you were awarded the Order of Canada. What is that, and how did you get that?
How did I get that? I don't know. I mean, most people, I don't know, a lot of people, me included, go into life and there's a feeling of unworthiness, like, I don't deserve, and inculcated by a number of reasons, I suppose, when you're a child and your upbringing, and you don't feel worthy. You have a feeling of, oh, I don't deserve this. And I've felt that all my life. And so when you ask me, how did I get that? It goes right into my feeling of not being worthy. And then, maybe I shouldn't have got it. You're right. How did I get that award? Well, it's the highest civilian award that Canada gives out. And why did I get it? I don't know, and I don't deserve it.
You definitely deserve it.
Yeah,
you definitely deserve it.
But they give it out like the president gives out the award in America here. The Canadian government gives out that award for things. I like to help people. Fortune has smiled on me for many years, and I won't go into the detail, but in any case, what I believe is your legacy, of anybody's legacy, what you leave behind you after you die, is your good deeds, is your good work. I mean, you have fame and fortune, but that lasts 6 months, a month, a week. You die, and people say, "Who? What was that again? Why did you get this? What was that?" And there's no answer. But if you do something good for somebody, that reverberates. It continues, although nobody knows. You're dealing in being anonymous. But if you do something good for somebody, and that person is better off because of what you did, then they do something, and it reverberates. And if you do a lot of good things, the world is alive with the good things that you've done. And although nobody else knows it, you know it, and somewhere deep inside, it reverberates.
That's awesome. So what's the future hold for you? Do you have any new projects you're working on? Anything that you can talk about?
Well, I'm talking to you from my home in Los Angeles, and cooped up here for the most part, although I have horses about 45 minutes away from here, so I'm able to get in a car and drive out to the stable. I run a horse show called the Hollywood Charity Horse Show every year. We've put on a show. I put on a show along with whoever's my assistant. Kathleen Hayes for the last 10 years has been my assistant. So the two of us put on a horse show called the Hollywood Charity Horse Show. And we've had sponsors in the last several years, Priceline and the Bank of California, and lately this one, Garrett and Crane, a patent of Capital 19 Equity Group, Capital 19 Equity Group, have given us money, but particularly this year. They've given, and so every year for the last 30 years, I've run this charity, raised millions of dollars for kids, for veterans, all over Southern California. And this year I've had to cancel the show. It was supposed to be in June. Then we thought October. So the show's been canceled. And what's happened all over the world, let alone the United States, places that put on shows to raise money for charity, like the Hollywood Charity Horse Show, no longer can do that because of the COVID. So all this charitable money is lacking. Nobody's giving, or very few people are giving to charity. Those three groups, the Priceline, the Bank of California, and Garrett and Crane patent of Capital 19 Equity Group, have given me money despite the fact we've had to cancel the show. And that's what's really important. I hope your people will recognize that even though we can't give the kind of money we gave last year and the years before because of the circumstances, all these charities need to do something. So whatever percentage of money we raise this year as a result of those kind people, we will give out that percentage. So if we raise half the money that we raised last year, we'll give out half the money to these deserving charities.
You have the website for your charity? Because I do follow you on
please.
Twitter.
Thank you very much. So smart of you. Horseshow.org. Horseshow.org, and we'll have our auction this year. So there's a lot of, I've kept in touch with a lot of interesting people, and what I ask of them is to send me something interesting we can auction off. So there's not the usual, I got a football from and a helmet from. There's a lot of interesting stuff that would be a curious interest in your home. And go to horseshow.org, look at the stuff, bid on it. Every penny that is given to us, every penny goes to help people. Nobody gets paid in this auction that I run.
That's awesome. I'm going to close it up with one last question. I do follow you on Twitter, and you're super active to responding to a lot of people. Well, you have some fortitude there with some of the people that comment.
Well, you know, I mix it up because it's interesting. Why be bland? But in the end, what it really is keeping in touch with all these people who might help me help people.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely go to horseshow.org.
Yes. And bid on the horseshoe.
Yeah, not a horseshoe. Horseshow.
Horseshow.org
exactly
is the website, and it'll be really of interest to all of you.
Yep, there's some fantastic one-off items on there that he's offering, and like Bill said, you know, when you have a charity and 100% of the proceeds are going to the charity, you can't go wrong with an organization like that, because a lot of these, some of these charity organizations, unfortunately, don't do that. So I really appreciate you doing that.
And you should look into that, because there was one charity here that I was going to donate money to, and I saw that the people running the charity got a huge amount of salaries out of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to. So the police action leagues are big time for a charitable dollar. We do that with a big one in downtown.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Bill, for being on our show. I really appreciate it. Super huge fan. I literally watch your show at 5 o'clock every night here in Sacramento.
That's great.
I love Star Trek. Huge Trekkie fan,
and the new show is The Unexplained on the History Channel. Second season coming up.
Absolutely. So make sure you dial into the History Channel to watch his new show, Unexplained.
And the blues album. Don't forget the blues album.
Oh, that's right.
Shatner, the blues.
Shatner, the blues. And I think you're up for an award on that one too, right?
It's #1 the blues album at the moment on the Billboard. So it's quite an honor. I don't know what, I don't deserve the award.
No, you definitely do. You're a great person. It clearly shows in who you are as a person, and the fact of all the charitable organizations you're involved in, what you've given back to people through your career, your acting, all of that is just, it's tremendous for all of us out here in the United States and Canada and the world. And we appreciate folks like you, because you don't see a lot of people in your position being as philanthropic as you are. And you really do give back, and you live by that. And I think that's a testament of who you are. And that's why you do win those awards, because you are so generous of your time, you're generous of your finances and your talents. And I think that's a huge legacy that you're leaving behind, outside of your phenomenal career, all the things that I read off in the beginning. I mean, that's amazing, all the stuff that you've done.
Thank you, Brian. A pleasure to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for joining us on this latest episode of On the Job with PORAC and Mr. William Shatner. We hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear your ideas for upcoming episodes. Join us on all our social media platforms, and be sure to tag us with your suggestions. Go to PORAC.org to learn more about California's largest law enforcement organization, representing over 77,000 public safety members. Make sure to check out and share our monthly podcasts and past episodes on PORAC.org, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and wherever available. Lastly, we'd like to say thank you to all our PORAC members and our nation's law enforcement. Be safe and have a great day.